Hey there nation, welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and today is another edition of Hobby Side. Once again, we have another set of terrain showcase to show you guys. This time it's for some fantasy terrain here. We're calling this video Hobby Side the Farm, and this is kind of showing you some of the more developed, more building and urban type of terrain that we use here in our battle reports, especially for our fantasy battle reports for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, as well as Warhammer Age of Sigmar. This particular battlefield is going to be used up for an upcoming Warhammer Age of Sigmar battle report that should be running out on Sunday, so that way you guys can take a look at that and see how this looks. We called this video the farm. The reason why is because we have some, as you can see, some farm pieces. We also got some livestock, as you can see there as well. We got several buildings as well as towers. So we're going to go through each one of these different pieces of terrain to show you exactly how each one of these was made and how we went about creating these things for our battlefields. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and dive in and talk about each of the terrain pieces. Alright, the very first piece of terrain we're going to talk about is this one right here, which is the tower that you see here. And just a heads up, let's go and grab this piece real quick so that way you guys can see a better option of it. If you can tell, it's just a piece of pre-made terrain. If you look down the bottom here, you can see that it's hollow on the inside. It's actually a piece of plastic is what it is. And this tower is actually from a board game that was back in the mid-90s called Battlemaster. Battlemaster was a kind of like a gateway game that was created by Games Workshop in cooperation with Milton Bradley. The idea was that you had like Games Workshop style miniatures on this huge battle mat that you played on. You had the Forces of Chaos, which was made up of orcs and goblins and chaos warriors and beastmen, all kinds of things. And you fought against the Empire, and one of the main objectives, of course, was this Watchtower. In fact, I think that the Watchtower scenario that's so popular with fantasy battles from Warhammer actually came from that game, as actually comes from. So this is actually one of those towers that we made. And we also have a second tower located here on the other side of the table here. We're going to talk about that one when we get closer to it. So this one, pretty simple. We just took a piece of plastic, glued it together, just painted the entire thing with dark gray, and then dry brush with different layers of lighter gray, and then, of course, putting black wash on to make it look good. And then, of course, we just painted the banner, as you can see there, so that way you can add decals to it later on, trapdoor on the top. Pretty simple miniature to make, all considering. The next piece we're going to talk about next is this building here. It's actually made of some really interesting ones. This one here is a piece of ruined terrain. Very, very simple to make ruins. All you got to do is just get a piece of styrofoam or polystyrene sheets, make some walls, cut out the walls, and then chew them up with either a box cutter or a hot polystyrene cutter. Could also work too to kind of make the ruins. Once again, cover the entire thing in wood glue, put sand down, paint dark gray, and dry brush, and then voila, you got actual ruined buildings. So as you can see, if you zoom in real quick here, you can see that we have pieces of lichen. Same thing with rocks and sand. Those are actual real rocks that we got. The base is made out of MDF, as always. We're really big fans of using that stuff to make our bases. And then over here, on this fence that you see here, this fence piece actually, we got these pieces. These are actually pre-made terrain. It was a type of plastic, not the base though. The base is actually just cardboard that we threw some filing folders here on the bottom to give it reinforcement. But this gray stone was actually made by a gang company. It's out of business now, unfortunately, but they made a bunch of different things. They made fences and pieces of rubble like this. You had them in packs of 20 for like $5 at the time. In fact, I bought a whole bunch of it when I was a kid. And as you can see there, we just kind of painted those up and just flocked those. So that's where these stone walls come from. As part of that kit, you would have rubble walls, and then you'd have like gates like this that you could make it out of. I forgot the name of the company, it's been so long, but it must have been like 20 years ago that we got these. But yeah, pretty cool on that part. And then, as you can see here, glued in the middle of it, we have some livestock. So we just had bought some livestock online, went to the dollar store, I think is what it was. Found some really cheap looking, not cheap looking, but some cheap livestock miniatures. They're 28mm scale. Just painted those up, glued them onto a piece of MDF, as you can see, just to add some more livestock to it. So yeah, pretty straightforward for that building. The next one we're going to go to next is the windmills. Sorry, not the windmills, the silos. And we're also going to talk about how we went about making those farms. Let's go and talk about those next. Alright, so next we're going to talk about the granary silos. Now these silos are kind of neat because we actually have two methods of making this. We have the one method, which is the most preferred method we lately developed. We had the very first method, which is this tan one with the rattan roof. So we're going to talk about those real quick. So first of all, this structure, as you can see, pretty much it's just MDF board, as always. See, you got the MDF there on the bottom. for the base. We've got different colored lichens that we use, of course, and homemade flock. The building itself, as you can see here, is actually just a can. I forget what it is made out of. I think it's like a Pringles can or something like that we used as a base. And as you can see, we have pieces of popsicle stick to make it the frame of the door, as well as the door itself. And then we took small squares of thinner cardboard and just glued onto the outside of it, dusted the entire thing in sand and grit, and then painted, of course. The top, of course, is also cardboard as well. If you wonder what this roof is made out of, we just take a piece of cardboard and make kind of like a funnel shape to make the bases of the board and the roof. And then what we do is we take individual squares of cardboard, cut them to size, and then glue them down into layers, starting with the bottom layer and working our way up to the very tip, and that mixed it to the shingling that we have for that roof. And of course, we just paint that as well. Cover the entire thing in Mod Podge when we're finished up, because it makes a nice finish. And voila, you got that piece right there. And then of course, the last piece that we have over here is the other granary style. Now this one was our very first method of making it. We just got some, here's the roof. As you can see, inside is just a piece of cardboard that we stapled together to make the funnel. And then the outside, we got like this like hula grass type material, and glued it, hot glued to the outside of it to make the rattan roof. The actual structure itself, if I pick it up here, as you can see, is actually a solid chunk of plaster that we created, and then we sculpted out the door. And then of course put popsicle stick door and painted that up as always. And then of course we coated the entire thing in sand as well and painted it with different washes and stuff to give it this kind of adobe type of structure to create that. And of course the base is just a piece of cardboard that we covered in flocking, glued it down and such, and then put the little hut on top with the rattan roof. So this one is how we made the very first system of huts that we had. We actually went up to make some more versions of that with our Orc and Goblin Village. We'll talk about that later in another terrain video. And then next we're going to talk about these farm pieces real quick and how we went about making those, as well as these hedgerows that you see here. So we'll talk about those next. All right, next up we're going to talk about the farms. Let's go and start about this farm first. This one, which is kind of like our cornstalk farm. As you can see, typical construction is always MDF baseboards we use. On top of what we did is we actually put down layers of fun foam. If you look really close, you can see how this is actually fun foam that we cut to size and sculpted with a hobby knife to kind of actually create the actual individual rows. And of course we put lichen on the top. And these corn stalks, if I remember correctly, Iron Major, our terrain creator, I believe he might have made these, I think is what he actually did. No, I'm sorry. We purchased these, that's right. It was actually from an old model set, like an old diorama set type of material, so you can make little hedgerows and corn rows out of, and that's how we made those with the corn, and then of course using lichen to create the smaller vegetables. Of course we have lichen on the outside to give it kind of like a border, because back in the olden days people used to mark off their farmland with hedgerows. And next we have this second farm here. This one's kind of like got small root vegetables in it. As you can see, the plants are actually individual pieces of paper that were created to create these. Fun foam, of course, to create the little individual rows. We got lichen here on the top. These brick walls that you see are actually made out of styrofoam. As you can see there, we just cut this into a solid piece of styrofoam, sculpted each rock out with a pencil, and then kind of created by kind of like stippling the styrofoam to shape and cutting to size, painting and dry brushing, of course. This one, however, is not mounted on MDF, it's just mounted on a piece of backing board, just cardboard. Real simple to make. And when you paint it up correctly and using it from scrap materials to make that, makes a really cool farm. So once again, just kind of shows you the genius of Iron Major when you made this. Our third farm that we have here is another piece. This one is also made out of fun foam as well. Once again, it's put on the backing of MDF, styrofoam on the outside, and fun foam to create the different rows of the grass. Put sand and dirt inside there with wood glue to create the texture of the mud. Painted that accordingly and glued down rows of lichen to create the vegetation. So once again, pretty cool on that part. Now the next piece of terrain that we have are these hedgerows, and these things are really cool. So we have a bunch of these. I think we have like 20 of these individual units that we actually made. And as you can see, it's real simple, just a base of cardboard, real simple cardboard backing board. And then the hedge itself is actually made from Scotch-Brite pads, like the green pads you use for scrubbing dishes. Well, you just cut that out to size and then dust this with some flock, and then voila, you got hedgerows. So for those of you guys who like playing World War II style miniature wargaming like Bolt Action or Flames of War, and you make a bunch of hedgerows for the hedgerow country of central France, Now you can make a bunch of these. You can see we have hedgerows there. We have hedgerows over here in this building as well. We got hedgerows in this other building over here. Like I said, we have tons of those hedgerows to make our various hedgerows for our various terrain and battlefields and stuff. So that's pretty much how you make the battlefield over here. On this side, over here, we have a pond. Iron Major made, as you can see. Just regular cardboard bottom. Stuck with some styrofoam on the outside of it. Now this grass here, you can see, is actually made from fish aquarium grass that you can get from plants for fish aquariums. Put a little bit of liquid water effect right there in the middle, and of course we have some more, you know, goose and goslings and swans and stuff that we used to populate. We painted those up and just glued them down to make it look a little bit more interesting. So that's that terrain piece there. And then over here, got another Battle Master piece of terrain. As you can see, there we have a little tower symbol on the top of it. As you can see, it's also, this one's a little bit more built up than our previous one that we looked at over there. This one is actually kind of more built up. In fact, if you take this off, you can see this is actually a piece of cardboard. We put layers of cardboard and then put plaster on the outside of it to kind of give it this kind of elevated look. Create a road using sand and of course painting and stuff like that. Made flocking for the hill. Use pieces of lichen and actual rocks to create the little boulders around it. And then of course we just put our piece of terrain up here on the top, like so. And then bam, that's how you make a little watchtower on that. So yeah, pretty simple to make. Next, we're going to focus up on the buildings real quick and talk about how we made those buildings, and end up with the chateau with its fortifications, and talk about these fences. So yeah, let's go and talk about those next. All right, up next we're going to talk about our houses, and I'm going to use this house as kind of like the example of how we created this, because this house, whether you believe it or not, is actually the oldest piece of building that we actually have in our terrain kit. This is the very first house that we actually made for Warhammer, that our Major made. As you can see, it's actually, if we were going on the other side here, take this real quick. Here is a window. The window's kind of opened. I really can't see it. The light really can't see it. But anyways, this whole building is actually made out of cardboard. That's what it's made from. The walls are actually all four of this wall, and the two end cap walls, as well as the front wall, are actually made out of cardboard backing board, the same stuff that this base is made out of. See, it's just, I think quarter inch, I think is what it is, thickness backing board. Real simple. You just cut out your walls to whatever structure that you want, all four walls, then you kind of glue the pieces together. The actual framing of this is actually made from popsicle sticks and balsa wood that we cut to size and put it down and glued it down and painted the entire structure to make it look like wood. And as you can see, the roof is also made out of that same kind of cardboard. So you can see the frame of the roof. And then you look at the sides here, the shingles are actually made out of strips of thinner pieces of cardboard. I think they're made from file folders that we made them out of. We just cut these long strips out and just make it look like wood shingles. And then glued them one layer on top of the other, all the way up to the top of the end cap. And then of course you just take the entire structure, paint it, flock the base, and bam, that's how you pretty much do it. Every single one of these houses, that house, and that house over there was all created using that same technique. As you can see, you can come up with almost infinite variety of different styles of houses real quick. So let's take a look at this one here. This one's a stone house. You can see house number one made out of that, also made out of that backing board, as you can see there. Same thing with the outside. Now this one we just covered the outside with sand and just painted it as well. The windows is actually just regular old cardboard beneath it. We took white color pens and painted the entire thing black, and took white color pencil to create the hashtag markings across the windows. See? Exactly the same kind of idea. Same thing as the close-up on the roof. See? Cardboard roof made out of backing board. Put the shingles on it. This one has a chimney. Very, very cool. That's how that one was made. Same thing with this one over here. Made exactly the same kind of technique. As you can see, as Iron Major progressed through each of the different houses, the builds become exceedingly exponentially more complicated each time that he builds it, because he is basically improving on his building ability. So you can see this one here actually has some irregular shapes on the sides to create the building there as well. So that's how we go about building the buildings. Now this building here, that's the beer house. We're going to talk about that next, because this one's built a little bit differently. Alright, so here we are on the other side of the table. This is the beer house. In fact, let's go just rotate this so you can see this one. This one's built a little bit differently because unlike the other houses we have in our structures, the roof comes off on this one. And And the reason why is because we wanted to add some materials on the inside. So if we were to pick it up, you can see the entire structure is made out of styrofoam this time. We just dusted it, make it look like it was made out of buildings. See, die Bierhalle. As you can see, we actually put individual beer barrels inside this one on a stone kind of like platform. And the inside we got little benches that we actually made. Oh, the bench fell in this one. Let me grab this real quick. As you can see, our major actually went out and made this bench using balsa wood and popsicle sticks to actually make this. Absolutely amazing. We actually bought these pieces, I believe, at Hobby Lobby, I believe is where we got them from, to create those barrels that he had there. I'm going to put this back here. No, I'll get back to that later. And that's how we pretty much made this, the beer Holland. And as you can see, it's just cardboard here on the outside. Inside has a cardboard frame, and of course we just slide down the top here to make the roof. Pretty cool stuff. Needless to say. Now, next we're going to go on to these wagons, as well as this fence. As you can see, this fence here is actually made out of pieces of balsa wood as well. These ones are actually made out of skewers for like, what you call it? To make, what's the word for it? Shish kebabs. Shish kebab skewers, just wooden ones. We just got those. Put that on base with styrofoam with a cardboard back and give it some more support and flock those and paint that up. That's where we got those. And these carts are actually made by Iron Major himself. As you can see, they're made out of popsicle sticks. Just painted time and patience. The wheels, I believe he bought those from Hobby Lobby. Same thing with the axles as well. That's how I made that cart, as well as this cart over here. Another really impressive piece. It's just amazing to me how much time and effort, goes into making these structures. It's just amazing on that part. So that's how we have those wagons here. Next, we're going to focus in on this chicken coop, as well as this pigsty. So as you can see, the chicken coop, once again, made on MDF board. As you can see, the coop itself is all handmade. Balsa wood, sticks, shish kebab skewers, lichen. Inside we have little miniature chickens there. We cover the base up to make it look like there's mud inside. You can see Iron Major actually glued all these sticks together to actually make the structure. It's absolutely amazing on that part as well. And then next we're going to talk about the chateau over here. So you can see we have these right here, these little palisades that we made. These ones are really simple to make. So if you struggle with making terrain, I suggest you make palisades. Really simple, just cardboard on the bottom. The actual mound is made out of styrofoam that we cut and made it look like it was textured with sand and glue. Then we took these sticks and just sharpened them up and just stuck them right into the styrofoam exactly like so. And then painted the entire thing covered in Mosh Podge. We have a bunch of them. As you can see, we have 4 palisades going around. And of course we have the chateau here. Huge building. The tower this time. Same exact process to construct this building as what we used to create the shack that we saw earlier. Except this one actually has a tower attached to it. And as you can see, the tower is just a piece of breadcrumb. Can of breadcrumbs. The lid on top. Cardboard, time and effort, and just lots of pain and patience made this structure as well. So this one, another very cool structure that Iron Major made for us. And then finally, we're going to talk about the pigsty. I'm going to go over the other side of the table and talk about that. Alright, lastly we're going to talk about the pigsty as well as the fences here. Here we have actually another set of fences that we actually made, that Iron Major made. You can see it's just balsa wood. He actually glued the stakes and stuff and put the runners in between, just painted the entire thing on cardboard. As you can see there, and flocked it as well. We have a bunch of these fences that we actually need to make. So for those of you who are not really good at making terrain, you can make a bunch of fences and hedgerows and still have really good terrain to look with. Now this pigsty, as you can see, is actually an MDF board. And he actually took individual sticks, like sticks from the backyard type sticks, just debris sticks, cut each one down and glued them individually in place to make a post, made a little gate door out of it, and then painted them all up to make a little palisade around the pigsty. And the pigsty building itself is actually a piece of styrofoam that he cut and texturized, the same kind of construction technique he used to make the farm. Painted those black portals to make it look like that's where the pigs go under the rest, and he just added a tree on the outside because Iron Major is a freaking genius. It just looks cool by doing it that way. So you can see, that's pretty much the entirety of the terrain that was put together on this battlefield. A lot of patience, a lot of time and effort and creativity that Iron Major put together to make our battlefield look really cool. So as you can see there, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much rounds... Oh, hold up. We also got the... I forgot to mention the well. Right in the middle of the table is a well. Same technique went to go creating the roof as all the other roofs in our houses. This piece here is actually just a piece of PVC pipe, as you can see real close. that he cut out and textured and put water in the middle. Just paint that blue. That's how I did it well. Alright, now, for real, it's time. As you can see, very impressive work by our major on all the terrain pieces. So that's going to do it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. So as always, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys' comments and input is always appreciated. And as always, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Google Plus for all the latest and greatest what's going on for our channel. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this one. For hobby side for our terrain for the Warhammer with the farms and fields and buildings. We will catch you guys on the flip side. Peace out.